The rain poured heavily on the marble steps of St. Helena Hospital, where a woman knelt, drenched and desperate. Her voice trembled, but her plea cut through the storm. Please, please save my daughter. Her name was Alara Valen, a single mother whose life had been a battlefield of endless jobs and sacrifices. Her little girl, Isolde, lay inside the hospital, fighting a rare condition. Alara had sold everything. Her jewelry, her furniture, even her wedding ring. But the bills towered higher than she could ever climb. Doctors shook their heads, nurses whispered, and the hospital administrator had already told her, "Without full payment, we can't proceed." That was the moment a man stepped from the shadows of the storm. His name was Kalen Drake, a billionaire known not just for his towering presence in the business world, but also for his reputation as a man whose heart had grown cold over years of betrayal. When he first heard her plea, he paused. People often begged him for money, but there was something different about this woman. Her words weren't for herself, they were for her daughter. The hook struck like lightning. A billionaire, a poor mother, and a child's life hanging by a thread. Kalen approached slowly, his shoes splashing in the rain. "What did you say?" he asked, his voice calm but sharp. Alara looked up, her face streaked with tears. "Please, sir, I don't know who you are, but my daughter, she doesn't have much time. They won't treat her unless I pay. I'll work the rest of my life to repay you. Just don't let her die." The crowd of onlookers expected him to scoff, to walk away. Billionaires didn't waste their time on strangers. But Kalen did something no one expected. He reached into his coat, pulled out his personal checkbook, and signed an amount that made the administrator stumble backward. "This covers everything," Kalen said firmly. "Prepare the surgery." The hospital staff rushed into action, stunned. Alara collapsed onto the wet steps, clutching his hand. Why would you do this?" she whispered. Kalen looked at her, his eyes softening. "Because years ago, I lost someone I loved, and no amount of money could bring her back. If I can save someone else from that pain, then maybe my wealth finally means something." Hours later, as the surgery lights glowed, Alara sat outside the operating room. Kalen, a man who had never waited for anyone, chose to sit beside her. They didn't speak much, but in that silence, something profound happened. A woman's hope and a man's buried humanity met on those sterile hospital chairs. When the surgeon finally emerged with a smile, announcing Isolde was safe, Alara fell to her knees again, this time in gratitude, not despair. Kalen helped her up gently. "Stand tall," he said. "Your daughter will need to see her mother strong." And that was the kindness that no amount of storms could wash away. A man who chose compassion over indifference, and a mother who learned that miracles sometimes wear the face of strangers. Weeks after the surgery, little Isolde recovered beautifully. Her laughter once again echoed through the small apartment she shared with Alara. But Kalen hadn't vanished from their lives. He kept visiting quietly, never as a savior, but as someone who wanted to help. Alara, however, struggled with pride. She wanted to stand on her own feet, not depend on anyone. One afternoon, Kalen found her sitting by the hospital garden, sewing torn clothes to sell at the market. "You don't have to do this anymore," Kalen said. Alara shook her head. "I can't take charity forever. I need to build something for my daughter. I need her to see that her mother didn't just beg. She fought." Her words struck him deeper than any boardroom debate ever had. Kalen realized that helping wasn't just about throwing money at problems. It was about empowering someone to rise. That night, Kalen called his advisors and arranged something extraordinary. The next morning, Alara received a letter. She had been hired to manage a new community initiative under Kalen's foundation, supporting single parents with jobs and childcare. First, she couldn't believe it. "Why me?" she asked. Kalen smiled. "Because you have the strength to understand their struggles and the courage to change lives. You don't need saving anymore. You'll be the one doing the saving." And so Alara began her new journey. She created programs for mothers who had nowhere to turn, for fathers who had been left behind, for families that society ignored. Slowly, she transformed pain into purpose. Isolde would often watch her mother speak at events, her tiny hands clapping proudly. "That's my mom!" she would shout, her voice full of joy. But the story didn't end there. One evening, Alara found Kaylin sitting quietly in the office. "You changed our lives," she said softly. Kaylin shook his head. "No, Alara, you changed mine. I spent years building towers of glass and steel, but they were empty. Helping you, and now watching you help others. It gave me something I thought I'd lost long ago." Alara smiled. "Then maybe that's what true wealth is, not what we keep but what we give." Months later, the foundation expanded beyond their city, touching lives across the country. And every time a struggling parent found hope, every time a child was saved, the chain of compassion grew stronger. All because one billionaire stopped, listened, and chose to help. The lesson was clear. Helping one person doesn't just change a life, it changes countless lives after.